At a time when America feels more divided than ever, a new confrontation has emerged from the heartland, one that is not about party lines alone, but about power, principle, and the boundaries of democracy itself. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has found himself at the center of a constitutional storm. When the Trump administration reportedly issued an ultimatum, deploy the National Guard to support ICE enforcement in Chicago, or Washington will do it for you, it wasn't just another clash between blue states and red politics. It was a defining moment for how far federal authority can reach into the will of the states. For decades, Americans have trusted that certain boundaries in our democracy are sacred, that the balance between state and federal power isn't just legal jargon, but a living safeguard of our freedom. Yet now, that balance is being tested in ways unseen for generations. Governor Pritzker, who has consistently opposed the militarization of local law enforcement, made his stance clear. Illinois will not turn its National Guard against its own citizens. Behind that decision is a question as old as the Republic itself. Where does the power of the president end and the sovereignty of the states begin? To understand the gravity of this moment, we must look beyond headlines and partisan soundbites. Federal law enforcement agencies, like ICE, do have authority to operate across state lines. But the use of military force, even in the form of National Guard troops, to enforce domestic law without a governor's consent touches a nerve deep within the American soul. It brings us back to the Posse Comitatus Act, a law passed in 1878 after Reconstruction, designed to prevent the use of the military in civilian policing. For nearly 150 years, it has stood as a bulwark between democracy and militarization, and yet once again, it is being tested. Legal experts, like former U.S. attorneys and constitutional scholars, warn that this fight could very well end up in the courts, and soon. Joyce Vance, a respected legal analyst and former prosecutor, notes that the president has limited constitutional authority to override a governor in matters of state policing. It's extremely unusual, she says, to see federal troops or the National Guard deployed against a state's wishes, almost unheard of. The last time such tensions reached this level was during the Civil Rights era, moments in history where questions of justice, law, and morality collided on the national stage. And as it was then, the decisions made now may echo for generations. For residents of Chicago, the images have already been jarring. Reports of late-night raids, agents dressed in camouflage, guns drawn on apartment dwellers, scenes more reminiscent of military operations than neighborhood policing. Yes, ICE is a federal law enforcement agency, empowered to enforce immigration law. But even they are bound by strict rules, the need for probable cause, judicial warrants, and restraint. The concern isn't just what has happened, it's what might happen next if the lines of authority grow ever more blurred. Governor Pritzker's response was swift but measured. He refused to escalate the situation, emphasizing instead the role of cooperation, not confrontation, between states and the federal government. In a statement to Illinois residents, he reaffirmed his belief that law enforcement should serve the people, not intimidate them. For many Americans watching, his defiance struck a chord, not of rebellion, but of responsibility. Behind the political theater lies something deeply human. It's the image of a governor weighing the safety of his citizens against the demands of federal power. It's a man aware that his choice could spark lawsuits, outrage, and headlines, yet one unwilling to betray the principle that democracy functions best when grounded in consent, not coercion. The situation has already drawn comparisons to other moments of federal-state tension, from Portland's protests to immigration crackdowns in Los Angeles and New York. In each, one theme persists: a growing unease about how far executive power can extend in the name of order. For Americans who remember earlier decades, the Vietnam protests, the civil rights marches, Watergate, the echoes are hauntingly familiar. History reminds us that the strength of a democracy isn't measured by how loudly the powerful speak, but by how bravely the principled stand their ground. Legal scholars predict this battle will head to court, and soon. Judges will be asked to decide not just the legality, but the morality of forcing a state to bend to federal will. But beyond the legal briefs and rulings lies a broader reflection. What kind of nation do we want to be? Do we wish for an America where order is maintained through force, or one where trust in law is earned through transparency and respect? Where leaders submit to fear or stand for principle even when it's unpopular? Governor Pritzker's confrontation with Washington may yet be resolved through the courts or through compromise, but the questions it raises about freedom, accountability, and the limits of authority will linger far longer. And for the millions watching from home, especially those who have seen this nation weather crisis after crisis, one truth remains: democracy isn't self-sustaining. It survives because individuals, whether governors or citizens, dare to protect it. So as this story continues to unfold, perhaps we're reminded of something simple yet profound: that leadership isn't defined by the power you wield, but by the principles you refuse to abandon. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more thoughtful reporting and human-centered perspectives on the stories shaping our nation. Because in times like these, staying informed isn't just important, it's a civic duty.